And we're back with Season 4, Episode 9, Pinkie Apple Pie. This is the episode in which Pinkie believes she might actually be biologically related to the Apple family and gets rather excited about it. And so do they, which leads to shenanigans. And in the end, we find out that we have no idea if she's actually biologically related to them or not. This is an interesting one. Obviously, I like Season 4, and I've said that many times. But I'm a little torn on this one because I feel like this episode nails all three of its themes very well. But at the same time, the episode itself is mostly just, okay. You know? Like, it's alright. I think the song's pretty good. Let's cover the episode bit by bit. First thing we see is that Pinkie apparently is very good at playing Jenga, which makes perfect sense since Hasbro owns Jenga. It does also make sense that Pinkie Pie can be very precise, should she choose to be. So, I'm going to tackle the first two themes pretty much right off the bat here. It's interesting to me how excited both Pinkie and the Apples are at the idea, the very thought, that she might actually be related. Now, on the one hand, this makes sense, because one of the things that they've done is they've kind of built up the friendship of the ponies over the last 4 seasons. I've mentioned several times how I felt that they weren't even the beginnings of friends until Season 2 at the earliest. A pony D&D module already exists. I'm dead serious. Look it up. Anyways, so the fact that they are now actually legitimately connected as far as people and are actually friends means that now they have the idea, now the idea exists that they might actually be family, which is a good thing. Now, that's an important first step, because if you find out you're related to someone you don't like, your reaction isn't really going to be particularly happy, is it? But, since they've actually grown to the part of being actual friends by this point, despite everything, okay, yeah, that's awesome that we're friends. But the other reason it's amusing and noteworthy is because of something, and I've said this a few hundred gabillion times, so forgive me for quoting myself here. Family is chosen. And that's exactly what the first theme introduced into the idea is, that, these people are already very close and care about each other a great deal, and are effectively already family, right? I'll swing back around to that one, because the next thing they cover is the idea that the Apples have a great deal of family pride, which is the second theme, which is actually kind of a more complex theme, and in my opinion, the actual better theme of the episode. Don't mistake me, family is chosen as something I believe very firmly and fondly. I mean, if I was to sit down and number how many of my family members are related to me by blood and how many are not, the numbers that are not related to me would outnumber the ones that are. But as much as that's important to me, and I think the episode does a good job of it, after all, they never find out if she's related because it doesn't matter. I think the episode does a better job of exploring the second theme. And what is the second theme? Well, I call it pride, but that's really being disingenuous. Let me rewind a second. Is there a sports team you like? How about a faction in a video game? Horde, Alliance, the Nod, the GDI. Maybe you're for the Soviets, maybe you're for the Alliance, right? Are you pro-rebels or pro-empire? You get the idea. It's an extremely common idea to root for your team. It's a form of tribalism, but I hate to use that word because tribalism is actually an umbrella term which usually is used in connotation to mean something much worse than this. So instead, I'm just going to call this rooting for your team. A little more low tier there, because that's what this is. All of what we see immediately is that all of them immediately start gushing about each other and how awesome their family is to Pinkie, because it's their team. I bet with 99% certainty everyone in chat right now knows what that feels like at some point or another in your life, where you've talked up a family member or a show you like over other shows, or maybe there's a game, or maybe there's a team, or maybe there's your school, or maybe it's actually your family or your friends or whatever. And you have been rooting for that, and that is something you've really talked up because you're trying to sell someone else on it, because you want someone else to see how much you care about it, how much you love about it, why it's so important to you, right? We as human beings are incredibly social creatures, and we love to share. And so it's very logical that the Apple family, they do love being apples, and they are very fond of their team. They want to express that as much as they possibly can to Pinkie. This is then stated outright when Applejack actually comes by and says, let's see here. Where is it? We want to make sure that she sees the best version of our family, you know? She even says that word for word. This is another thing. Now, this, I'm sure less of you are aware of, but you ever have that minor form of social awkwardness at the first time you go someplace or the first time you meet someone? And you want to be like the best version of yourself, right? And so you end up acting kind of weird. I don't know how to describe this. I identified it in myself. I still have this problem to a small extent. But, you know, you try to look your best or pose your best, or you want to seem cool, or maybe you want to seem knowledgeable, or you're not sure what to talk about, so you just kind of stay quiet, you know, because you want to portray yourself at your best. You know, these are new people, right? And yeah, it almost invariably fails, which is exactly what happens in this episode, just with a group rather than an individual, but it's still the same concept. I love how this is why this overall theme is something that I don't want to describe with just one word. Because this idea of rooting for your team while wanting to show your best face is an extremely common thing in human society, and the episode does a wonderful job of exploring this point. You'll notice that all of the things that the three do is something that they do because of the fact that they were trying to put that best face forward, right? Big Mac wanted to show just how strong he was, and to make sure that they were good for any contingency, fully prepared just in case. Apple Bloom was really excited about having it and wanted to show off. And Granny Smith didn't want to admit to the flaw of being wrong. And no, it's okay, I've totally got this. And in each case, they were incorrect because they were trying to do that, you know, blah, 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 blah. You can see how it ties in there. You can see how it's part of that overall theme. So yeah, we see tons and tons of flaws in the team. Really side note before we move forward. I've noticed this a bit now, and I'm not sure how much this is going to continue, but you notice how the whole cutie mark thing is more of a background element than their dominant character trait? Can I just say I really like that? I mean, sure, they're still looking for the cutie marks, but it's nice that not everything they're doing is all about their cutie marks. In fact, Apple Bloom's cutie mark only comes up once in the entire episode. And even then, it was just kind of an idle brag. I bet I'll get the cutie mark for being the best sister. You know, okay, sure. That'd be interesting, a sibling cutie mark. The other thing I mentioned is, meanwhile, Big Mac still is keeping his running gag going. Yup. Nope. However, if you pay attention during the song, he's singing too. I mean, that makes perfect sense that Big Mac has an excellent singing voice, considering what's going to come up in a future episode. That is not too far from now, too. So, yeah, I'm only talking off screen. Of course, got to keep that thing going. Apple Bloom did some good stuff in this episode. I'll actually agree with that, SA2K. Yeah, seeming so the parachute will only open if I think it will? I love the scariest cave. It actually made me laugh. It's legit. Scariest cave in Equestria. And of course they don't show it. But what's funny to me is Pinkie Pie is completely unfazed by it. I said I'd keep pointing it out, and I'm going to keep pointing it out. Because it's possibly humorous, while at the same time remaining in character. And this is Pinkie Pie being funny in character. Because why would she be afraid? Why would Pinkie Pie be afraid? That was established in the first episode, right? And yeah, I actually noticed the monster. It was this kind of three-eyed dog-looking thing. So, and yeah, of course, given the Halloween episode, which is also her being scared. In fact, even in this episode, when Twilight's like, ah, her response is, ah, yourself, you know. Of course, she's enjoying the whole thing, whereas the other three are like, I gotta be honest, though. First an eagle, then a duck? Is this Untitled Goose Game episode that I just didn't know? Maybe that game was inspired by this episode. I don't know. And they go over the waterfall. Naturally, Pinkie isn't afraid of the waterfall. Why would she be? And she's got to do the Splash Mountain pictures, you know. Because of course you do. This leads to the third theme of the episode. Family isn't perfect. I know what you're going to say. Duh. But, of course, this is one of those themes. The previous two themes still apply to an adult. I've been kind of noting this as we go through this show, because some of the themes and some of the Aesops are really more for adults, and some are more for kids, and then some are equally applicable to both. I think this is a good lesson for children, especially. Because you're going to get in fights with your family. You're going to have arguments, and you're not going to get along all the time, right? This is actually true with friends, too, and that will be a theme in future episodes. So, it makes perfect sense that they would try to get across this idea that you're going to fight, you're going to argue. And that's fine, because it's just another bump in the road. If what you have is a real friendship, or if they are a real family, then you'll get through it. Right? I mean, I've had arguments with my sister, rather unpleasant arguments with my sister. I've gotten actually angry at her 3 times in my life. I've lost my temper at her twice. That wasn't fun, but that's unrelated to anything. She's still my sis. I talked to her just last night. And this, of course, thank you, by the way. This is Ed. This, of course, gets down to the idea of the fact that we're all flawed, horrible people. And this ties neatly in to the second theme and the first theme. You can root for your team as long as you acknowledge that your team is flawed, right? This is one of the things, I know this is going to sound like a bit of a segue here. This is one of the reasons why I push so hard for the nature of how I do my reviews about games. Ejecting nostalgia goggles and blindness and examining a game now in as fair a fashion as I can. Because I can say that Final Fantasy VI is my favorite game of all time, but I will never call it flawless or perfect, because it isn't. Right? So naturally, it makes perfect sense that people who love each other, who are close, who really care about their team, whatever that team may be, will also, or at least should, be aware of the substantial flaws in that team, in their family, in their friends. It's just, that doesn't stop them from being family and friends. It doesn't stop you from rooting for the team. For the Horde, right? I like that. I like the way they do this very, very well. It is worth noting that there's a kind of an addendum that this episode doesn't cover, and that's the really bad stuff. Like, if your team, or your family, or your friends, or whatever, do something actually bad, then, yeah, no, they probably need to be chopped off and no longer be a part of that team. But that's kind of an outlier, and it's at the furthest end of extreme, so I'm fine with the episode not really addressing that, you know? Like, I have a friend who has a family member who is not his family member anymore, if you follow. Damn it, SA2K. Yeah. That is fair, Raskar. It's something that I felt like mentioning, because it is something that needs to be mentioned. There are extremes. Anyways, then the episode basically ends. Now, this is the weird part, because the second theme and the third theme have basically concluded at this point, right? You know, the teamwork thing and the flawed team thing. Cool. Then... yeah, that's an interesting way to put that, Mr. Red. Then what they have is a weirdly accurate portrayal of a hoarder who is also a crazy cat lady. This one weirded me out a little bit, because like, I feel like they actually did research on exactly how a crazy cat lady or a hoarder's house would look, because that's pretty legit. weirdly legit. And it's just kind of played off for laughs. I'm not sure where that came from. Anywho, she has a freaking cheetah. She pulls out a book from the very bottom. There's that Jenga reference again, but also the same thing Pinkie Pie did earlier. And they go through, and what do you know? They're not actually sure if she's related. And this is, of course, the conclusion of the first theme. Family is chosen. And I know we already covered this, but it is a great way to cap off this idea. After this big adventure, and after this big trip, and after all they've learned and grown, it turns out, but who cares? And the episode actually calls that out directly. It doesn't matter whether she is biologically related or whether she is not. And I like that. Now, before we move on, I want to share this with you guys. So this is something someone threw together in order to visually indicate what it would look like, assuming the genealogy was accurate. Let me pull this up here. So, if you look over here on the left side, I guess this is kind of hard to read, isn't it? Hang on. There we go. If you look over here on the left side, you can actually see Big Macintosh here, right there on the bottom. Big Macintosh, Applejack, and Apple Bloom. Then we go up a step, and then 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 up a step. Then we go down, 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 until we get to Pinkie Pie. This is what it would actually look like to be fourth cousins twice removed. You see Apple Bloom over there on the left? And you can see Pinkie Pie in the lower right? That is what that family tree would actually look like. This is basically not related at this point, if we're just going to be blunt. This is getting into some Habsburg's genealogy right here. That's not fair. That's a bad way to put that. Yeah, no, they are not related. Even if they actually were biologically connected in this manner, it wouldn't matter. But I'm okay with that, because once again, it doesn't actually matter. They are chosen family, regardless of the fact that even if they were biologically connected, they are way apart from each other. And I thought this visual indicator of this was a good way to really get across that point. Because, you know, I'm a big fan of visual here. Well, I'll show you the whole thing again, just so you can really see just how distinguished that is. Fourth cousin, twice removed by fifth cousin. Yeah, that's way over there. Anyways. So, where did I get that image? Reddit. I actually Googled MLP, fourth cousin twice removed by fifth cousin, and this is what I got. Here, I'll go and link it. It's on Imager. There you go. So, yeah, 12 degrees of assistance is huge. Do you think this qualifies as a wah-wah ending? Because what happens, for those who don't remember, is that they start bickering again, and they start arguing. And she joins in. Bicker, bicker, bicker. Argue, argue, argue. Yeah, you're supposed to pronounce it Imager. I've heard it said, so that's not me making that up. How have you said that, Kay? See, I'm kind of on this one. That's why I'm kind of... While we debate this, there's actually 3 entries in the journal here for this episode. First one is by Apple Bloom. Nope, I'm wrong. The first entry is by Pinkie Pie. It says, in all caps, "Oh my gosh, I'm an apple, Pinkie Pie." That's it. That's the entry. Second entry is by Apple Bloom. Families are super complicated, that is. Just take my sister. She can be a bit of a bossy pony, but that's only because she wants what's best for every pony. And Big Mac is the best big brother, but the fella's got to speak up now and again. And I love me some Granny Smith, except when she makes me wear some silly old bonnet. But honestly, family is awesome, because you can be going on some boring old road trip, and as soon as you accidentally lose the map, That's when the real adventure begins. Then we have an entry from Granny Smith. Dear Diary. I'm not going to read the whole thing like that, don't worry. fourscore and 7 ago. Oh, ha. The apples came to this land ready to kick up some dirt and make our gardens grow. And the apple family grew as strong as the roots of any apple tree, digging deep into the soil and feeding off the nutrients of the earth. But just as different apples have different flavors, different apple ponies have different personalities. And even though we're family, even apples can work your last nerve and make you fit to be tied. That's when this old pony remembers that we're apples to the core, and at the center of that core is love. And a whole lot of butter. Then we have an entry from Big Mac. Yup. Then we have an entry from Applejack. I know the Apple family is the best family ever, but I thought being the best family meant being perfect. Every pony knows that while we love our family, the last thing families are is perfect. What truly makes a family the best is being able to get them through the rough patches together. The best families are able to forgive each other's mistakes, because goodness knows we make plenty of them. Through thick and thin, you got your kin. And I feel we're lucky, because some of my best friends are my family. But what makes me luckier than that is that I've got such good friends. They feel like family, too. And then one last entry by Pinkie Pie. In all caps. I love this family! Being an apple's the most awesome thing ever! Imgur? Really, Kay? I know, right? SA2K. But we'll be seeing the pies soonish, not today. Before we move forward, I think we'll go ahead and call that as a wah-wah. We'll go ahead and move that into the wah-wah territory. It's kind of a half wah-wah, but, you know. Which brings me to the episode. So this is the first episode by Natasha Levenger. First time she's done anything with this. And I have to admit, even though the episode itself is just kind of it really nails all 3 of its themes really well, in my opinion. I hate to give another red out, because we have a lot of red episodes, but honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards redding this one. What do you guys think? Like, the song's good, you know. The episode is pretty enjoyable. It made me laugh once, which is, you know, it's rare. I love the themes. Make it gold, which would mean it's average, of course. I think we'll do red. Screw it. We're going to make it red. Whoop, that's pink. How did it... Oh, I see the problem. There we go. That's better. Which leaves us on to the next episode. So let's chop off.